Welcome to the Wandering Tangent podcast. I'm BJ. With me is Jeff and Gary. Today we're going to talk about the 1990 Japanese animated kung fu fighting, martial arts, sci-fi. What heck you define Dragon Ball as? Dragon Ball Z, World's Strongest. So, I say 1990 because that is the release date in Japan for the original. In the US, it originally premiered in 1998, and then it got released again in the US in 2006 with a new dub. So, yay, information.
I didn't get to get.
Was this your favorite?
One.
Is this a?
Well,
I got.
So
I could only. No, I could only find the Japanese version of it. So,
you go.
Oh,
wow.
So we
Okay.
might have watched slightly different versions. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think it depends. Like, I think. Well, I guess anyway, we should probably talk about why we're watching Dragon Ball something. So this was not originally the plan, but then Akira Toriyama died. Akira Toriyama being the gentleman who started Dragon Ball franchise a long time ago. So we thought it would be a way to, I don't know how to phrase this, mark his passing, commemorate his passing by sort of having a blast from the past and watch something Dragon Ball.
So I am not educated on Dragon Ball Z, although I have seen some. But tell me more about him. Was he a writer, producer?
So I've not done a very deep dive into it. He wrote the original manga for Dragon Ball, and I assume he was also part of all the various and sort of Dragon Ball stuff that came up after that. Like I know for us and people our age, Dragon Ball Z was the big one because that was the one that started airing on the Cartoon Network when we were like in junior high and high school. But yeah, he started doing quick research on the.
So he started as a kind of a comic book writer, right?
Yeah.
Is that what by Magna, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the original Dragon Ball was originally published back in started getting published back in 1984. So it's a very long running series, and there's like still Dragon Ball stuff coming out to this day, I believe.
And unlike certain media groups, they consult. They typically Japanese. What they'll do is they'll keep the original artist and writer, who's usually the same person. They'll keep them on through the majority of that particular media IP. That meaning that IP intellectual property. They'll keep them on during that IP's entire run because they want to make sure that it stays true to the original concept. So this guy was constantly being consulted at any time anything Dragon Ball ever was done. In fact, he probably wrote most of it himself.
Yeah, from my understanding, yeah, he had a hand in it. I can't say, like I said, I don't know for certain if there's like still Dragon Ball stuff going on. I know, should have done this research beforehand. Didn't realize I was gonna.
He didn't realize we would all be inquisitive.
Didn't realize Jeff was gonna ask for a classroom presentation. Otherwise, we would have prepared a PowerPoint.
A PowerPoint on Dragon Ball. Wow.
Yeah.
On the other hand,
why not?
I'd sit through that.
On the other hand, it has lasted. Like it's one of those things that's withstood the test. It's a very simple concept, but it's withstood the test of time. A person getting stronger and
Well, like I could be wrong, but I think like the original Dragon Ball was like more of a play on what's it called, Journey to the West.
Yeah,
which is sort of a very old Chinese legend, isn't it?
Yeah. But then it kind of morphed into something completely different that was very much more successful.
Yeah, well, Dragon Ball was, I mean, I assume Dragon Ball was very least successful in like Japan. I think it was relatively unknown in the West until like Toonami came around when we were in like high school and such, and that's when the rest of the world was like, hey, this Dragon Ball Z thing is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things that ended up in the morning cartoon section and was kind of entertaining before you had to go get on your bus and go to school. And then you would tell your friends about the 5 minutes of action and then 25 minutes of filler that was on TV.
Hey,
but those 5 minutes of action made it completely worth it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely they made it worth it because those were freaking awesome 5-minute action scenes.
So funnily enough, I did do some research on this. More recently, they did a recut of Z. It's called Dragon Ball Z Kai. And what they did is that they went through and they slashed a bunch of they trimmed down a lot of the original series. So like, for example, the original arc, the Saiyan saga, they call it, from the first episode until Goku fights the Saiyans. It was originally like 30-something episodes, and the Kai cut, they trim it down to 16.
Oh, gosh.
So there is a official cut out there where they trim a lot of the fat.
But do you lose anything from the fat when you trim all gone? I mean, is there something missing? Is the major fight scenes not as
they keep
as epic?
I assume they keep like the major plot points. I've not gone back and I've not gone through and like watched like scene by scene comparisons. I think watching
it would take like a couple of months, right?
Well, I think watching World's Strongest is like the first Dragon Ball content I've consumed in quite some time.
Myself as well. Except for the occasional debate, which we will not get into, of who is stronger, certain comic book characters versus certain anime characters.
Okay, you must be having this debate with other people because I know you're not having it with me.
Well, I think it's good if the show at least keeps you guessing, right?
Well, no. What Gary's talking about is not two... He is not referring to two Dragon Ball characters. I know what debate he is talking about.
That debate shall rage eternally, not on this podcast.
If he does not wish to dive into it here, I will not instigate.
No. We shall not.
Because I feel like it's something Jeff would have an opinion on, but we're not going to go there, I guess. Anyway.
No, we're not.
World's Strongest.
All right, dodging opinions. So, BJ, why'd you pick this of all the Dragon Ball Z stuff?
So, to kind of jog Jeff's memory, which is not great sometimes, at the end of the last podcast, being our special Minecraft edition, I did ask if people had opinions on... so Akira Toriyama passed like a couple of days before we recorded the Minecraft episode, and it being an episode where the kids had been promised they could do a podcast for quite some time, we could not put that on hold any longer.
Plus, it's coming out on April Fool's Day, so...
Yeah, well, it's coming out the day after April Fool's Day, which was the plan, which is why we didn't do it for, like 6 months?
Yeah.
I think the part of the original plan was, maybe we take a really long time to do it. Maybe they'll forget about it. But Gary's son, aka Kid 2, was apparently dead set on it for the entire 6 months.
He was more committed than we were on the podcast. Okay.
No, seriously, dead set is an understatement. Every time I did a podcast, he'd be like, when is my turn to do the podcast? And I'm like, oh gosh, okay, it's going to happen.
But yes, anyway, in light of that passing, I did ask if you guys remembered any of the Dragon Ball Z movies, because I know we watched them at some point. We had other friends in high school who were quite into Dragon Ball, and I know we watched at least some of these movies at their house/apartment. And so I asked if you guys had any memories of them, if you had a favorite one. I believe Jeff said no, and Gary gave me a description which I matched up with World's Strongest, and World's Strongest was one I had in mind because I remember liking that one, or liking this one, I guess I should say, because it's the one we watched.
Okay.
Hi, I'm tired.
So
how are you?
We picked it just because it came up in a conversation. Sounds good.
Well, it was one I remembered liking. There was one that Gary kind of remembered liking. Your memory sucks, so you
My
had no
memory was
recollection.
at 0.
Just like, what's Dragon Ball? Anyway. And we're
What
like,
is a
10 minutes
Dragon
in, and
Ball?
I'm already making fun of Jeff. Here we go.
Half our listeners don't know what a Dragon Ball is. And well, probably. They probably
It
have
is-
already like clicked out at this point. Be like, no, I'll catch him next time or never.
Well, I mean, I would assume they're at least somewhat aware of what Dragon Ball is, considering it's been part of pulp culture for 20-something years.
You say that with such confidence. But
Yes,
there are
I
people
do.
who know nothing about anime. They do exist. They also occupy this planet.
Well,
Yes,
Jeff,
I know that, but
to do the due diligence of the whole podcast thing, I will now explain what a Dragon Ball is.
All right, cue the PowerPoint.
It is a
next slide.
crystal. It is a clear crystal ball with embedded stars, and
It's not. It's like orange.
already
isn't it?
confused.
yes, it's an orangish color. And if you gather 7 of these Dragon Balls together, there are only 7, and each
I was going to say, there's only 7, isn't there?
yes, there are only 7, and each of them is marked with a number of stars denoting which Dragon Ball it is.
It's got for
So
me 1 through 7.
yes, 1 through 7.
I'm helping.
You gather all 7 of them together and you can summon a dragon, and that dragon will grant you a wish. This is an unlimited wish. You can wish for literally anything you want to, and you will receive that thing. And then the Dragon Balls are scattered across the earth again to be rediscovered by whomever can, wants to try to make that journey again.
I think there's more rules to it than that, but that is outside the purview of this podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a good basic description. Well done, Gary. And yeah.
I had to give that description to my son before we watched it because he was like, "What is Dragon Ball?" And I'm like, "Okay, this is what I'm gonna say."
Okay, so what is the letter Z? Dragon Ball Z.
So I don't know if the Z actually stands for anything, but it's just to separate this storyline from the original Dragon Ball storyline, because there is a bit of a time gap between the original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. The majority of Dragon Ball happens while Goku is a young child.
The majority of it? So when these comic books, these manga books were made,
Yeah.
it originally started with Goku as a child, right?
Yes.
Ah, all right.
Yes, it started with Goku as a child, and during that, to dumb it down, because I'm not terribly familiar with the original Dragon Ball, but I know in some way, shape, or form, the green guy,
Piccolo?
yes, him. He was a thing. He was a
In the
bad
original
guy.
one?
Yeah.
Was he also a kid?
I don't know.
Okay.
So like the Piccolo I think the Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z is not like the original Piccolo. I think Goku killed the original Piccolo, and then like as the original Piccolo was dying, he like laid an egg or something, or spat out an egg, and that became the new Piccolo. And
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
That's gold right there. Okay.
That's why I was going for the simple explanation of in the old series, if in the old series he was a bad guy, that's why it's a big deal that, oh, Goku and Piccolo are joining forces to fight the bigger bad now, and why it's
okay.
and why everyone's all freaked out that he's training Goku's kid and he's nice to Goku's kid and whatnot. That's why
He's kind
everyone's
of a
so shocked by
mentor
that.
a little bit to his kid.
Yeah, to Gohan, yes.
To Gohan, yeah.
Yeah,
Gohan.
because, well, I guess. So, I don't know how much we want to dive into.
We probably
Dragon Ball
don't want
Z
to at all.
proper because the movies are like non-canon, kind of.
Yeah,
They don't really fit into original storyline.
from what I remember, I don't think there's actually a point where you can pin this particular movie and it actually fit in the original storyline. It doesn't.
Yeah, no, not really, because
certain people being alive, certain people being,
because judging from judging from the relationship between characters and the fact that Goku is using like Kaiokens, it would have to take place between the end of the Vegeta fight and before he learns how to go Super Saiyan, which there's not any time to do that in the main storyline.
And during that period of time, certain people are dead. Not going to spoil whom, but those people do appear in this movie. So, yeah.
Yes. So yeah.
Okay. All right. I think I'm a little bit more centered as to what's going on, at least a little bit. So should we talk about our non-spoiler review and then move on to talking about it?
So this is something I've been thinking about because I'm like, it's a Dragon Ball Z movie. How do you rate without just saying like, oh well, it's a Dragon Ball Z movie. It's okay.
Well, maybe that's all you say. It's all right.
It's okay. There's cartoon guys and they punch each other very hard and very quickly.
Yes,
BJ,
they do.
Do you
Yes.
own a copy of this Dragon Ball Z movie?
I actually do. I
Jeff?
forget when I bought it, but apparently at some point in the past, I did buy a couple of Blu-rays to have a total of the first 4 Dragon Ball Z movies. I don't know exactly when I bought those. I couldn't tell you when was the last time I watched them, but yes.
Funny enough, I had a very similar experience. I thought, you know what? I know I have Dragon Ball Z movies somewhere. And so I searched and I found a set that I had bought long, long ago. And I looked at them and it was like episodes. It was all the episodes before and after this one. And I thought, oh no, I was almost there. And somehow I must have got them in a set and lost one of them. And it took me a while before I finally opened the case and realized there were 2 discs in the same case. And so I had it the whole time. But yeah, it was kind of a roller coaster ride. Like, do I have it? Do I not? I finally was able to go, oh yeah, it says right there on the back of the cover. It's like the one side of the case was one film and the back side was the other. So of course it was there just to fool with me.
Mhm.
But
I had to go on an adventure to be able to watch this because it doesn't stream anywhere except for I'm sure there's websites out there, but I couldn't find anything. I was trying to buy it on Amazon and they don't sell it on Amazon. So I'm like, good, great. I'm gonna find it, and I did eventually find it for streaming. Just only in Japanese. After I bullied the system for a while, it eventually gave me English subtitles because I did not want to. I actually wanted to understand what people were saying. So no, I don't own a copy of this. So I guess to rate it, what I was referring to, BJ, is do you own a copy of it on the Gary scale of movie references? Since you actually own a copy, that's kind of high praise right there, in your opinion. Well, okay.
Well, I mean,
that is a tangible way of making an assessment, whether you
Yes.
like it or not.
well,
you
I
own it.
mean, it means that at some point I'm like, because I have no idea when I bought this. So yes, at some point I did buy it, but
You haven't watched it for years, but you're
No.
you're still a Dragon Ball Z fan, right?
I
comes down to
I
it.
mean, I guess, yeah. I like it's passed me by. There is like all kinds of Dragon Ball media I have not watched. Like I don't think I watched any of like Z past like I think I got through Cell and then kind of bounced in and out of Majin Buu, but like I didn't watch GT or Dragon Ball Super or anything like that. I know they exist, but I have not interacted with them.
So I really like just the level of cheesiness. You have that in there, which is a positive cheesiness. It's like two people fighting,
So much
and they're
cheese.
so like emotionally wired, these people in this show. And then on top of that, the relationships they have, like between Goku and his wife. Now that is entertaining and classic in many ways. And then the artwork. The artwork in Dragon Ball Z is what is one of the things that really makes it stand out. It's got some very well designed, very they're like the artwork is there to wow you as much as possible. It's to show you grand scales and grand amounts of power and all sorts of things that really they don't give you a lot of it. They give you they make you go through all of these different parts of the storyline and dialogue and all this stuff, and then finally they give you this epic moment, and it's great. I don't watch a lot of it, but I don't know why. It's just it's good stuff. Yeah.
Well, at the time, you know, like I said, there's the Kai cut that trims a lot of the fat, but you know, at the time, you know, I don't know if all of us were watching it back then, but we all knew people who were watching it at the very least. I know I was watching it, but like during the end of the Frieza fight, there's the 5-minute countdown that lasts for like 10 episodes or something like that.
And that's in the regular episode series, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you had all these episodes, and then they made a bunch of films. And as you guys were talking about, the films kind of don't fit, but hey, they're great movies anyway. Generally, yeah.
Yeah, and like we said, World's Strongest one of those films. So I would, and again, I've not watched the original Dragon Ball Z in quite some time. So I would assume the animation in World's Strongest is probably the best of, if not a bit better than what was seen on TV, just because since it's a standalone movie, they probably had more time to work on it, I would assume. So
I would assume the movies are a little better on the action scene, but
yeah.
They seemed, from what I remember, they seemed kind of all the same. Like they have the very same epic amount of stuff. But anyway.
Yeah, and World's Strongest was from, it's placed earlier in Z, so like, it was before everyone and their dog could blow up a planet by sneezing or whatever.
So. Okay. All right. So Gary's turn.
Dragon Ball Z is like the definition of power creep.
Power creep. Yeah, they just get more and more epic as time goes on.
So my rating on this movie is I don't have a copy. I don't really intend to get a copy. It was nice to watch it and nice to nostalgize, but or maybe I don't want a copy right now because I was remembering while watching this how violent Dragon Ball is, and I don't want to let my kid watch that quite yet. So
how violent?
Yeah. Well, maybe not this episode, but maybe not this episode, but there's some gnarly stuff in Dragon Ball. Like people get cut into pieces and whatnot. And it's brutal.
Yeah, no.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. It's like the thing about having a magical. It's like the series is named around a magical plot device, which just so happens to be able to bring characters back to life. So people die left, right, and center in the series.
And
then they
sometimes
just come back
in really rough ways. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna buy it. I'm not gonna buy this yet.
So, yeah. So, says the guy who took his kid to go see Godzilla -1.
Hey, I covered his eyes during the worst part. So.
Okay.
parts.
But anyway, so I've actually been thinking about this, and so like, what better place to talk about than like actually on the podcast, I guess. So like, if we're like going to actually have like a way to rate things, then we should like hammer it down so we like actually rate things, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Is that just like the Gary scale of, yeah, I guess I kind of want to own it, or
I mean,
The Gary scale, which is a scale of 2. You either own it or you don't own it.
No. It's a fairly solid scale of, do I own it? Because that's the thing, right? Owning it is an above and beyond thing. It's not just like an electronic copy. It's a real physical copy, which means you have to go outside of your effort to get it, which means you have to really like it to own it, right? At least that's my
You may have
defense
to open
of my
the front
scale,
door and accept the package. Yep.
pretty much.
yeah. But what I'm saying is that I think there's like a step in between of like, because say for example the movie Alien, you like Alien, you just don't own a copy of it, yes?
Yes. I kind of like Alien.
You would recommend that people see Alien.
Yes, I would recommend people see Alien. Owning a copy is like highest praise.
Yeah, so what I'm saying...
Not owning a copy...
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that it's like in my mind, you guys can disagree, and I'm sure you will, because that's just how we roll around here, is that it seems like it's like a 3-step scale, right? There's like own, see, or skip, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I like that.
I would put this one, in that particular case, I would put this one as definitely a C, not necessarily an own.
See, you kind of set us up, BJ, to like dare us to disagree with it. But yet,
I agree
think
with
I kind
this
of
scale,
agree with
BJ.
it.
This kind of looks like
Okay,
a good
so-
scale. So a three-step scale?
So-
I was kind of expecting a 10-year discussion about how we would organize this.
So 1 year and a half
maybe
later,
that'll work.
ladies and gentlemen, we have a rating scale. So
Okay, so what is it again? Skip?
So skip, see, or own.
Got
Yes.
it. I got
So-
it. That's
And
good. That's good.
and just
That's good.
and just as a caveat, I would say that just because you actually own a copy doesn't mean you're obligated to stick it in the own category.
But
Right. Yeah.
I would definitely put it in the C category, not the not the own.
Yeah, C seems like a good place for it. Like, if you're super nostalgic about Dragon Ball or just never got out of Dragon Ball still your jam, obviously you're going to want it more. But as someone who just kind of went back to it as sort of a trip down memory lane, yeah, C.
Well, like I said earlier, if there's people that don't watch anime of any kind, should
This
this
is your
really be
opinion,
the anime? I know, my opinion. My opinion is that if you don't know much about anime, you should go for a Miyazaki movie instead. And then, but if you,
Never mind, go ahead. I'll let you say your rating and then I will interject.
okay, so I'm gonna say, as far as if you have any kind of experience in anime, this is definitely a great one to see, definitely. And if you had
Okay.
none, you might want to build up first.
Okay, so we all say C.
Mhm.
Okay, so my interjection was going to be, I don't know if I would. They're both animated and both from Japan, but Dragon Ball Z and most Miyazaki movies are very different.
Yes.
Definitely. I don't think Miyazaki actually has any real violence in any of his movies.
Have you
no,
watched Princess Mononoke
yeah.
lately?
Okay,
Princess
well,
Mononoke.
okay. Apart from Princess Mononoke, like any of the other ones that he's done.
I would have to go back and watch the ones I have to be able to say that with any certainty, because there is Princess Mononoke makes this movie look tame, dude.
Oh yeah, definitely. Sorry to make that comment, and then I have to suddenly backtrack. But that you are right.
There's
You
the
are
one-
right. Princess Mononoke is like a it's out.
There's the one about the princess with the necklace and the castle and the robot.
Castle in the Sky.
Castle in the Sky. There's some blowing upness in it.
There's
plenty of
blowing upness in a lot of
explosions.
Miyazaki movies. Like there's blowing upness in like Howl's Moving Castle. but
Yeah, that's true.
I can't remember like how graphic or not it is off the top of my head.
We're talking about, like, for instance, Princess Mononoke. Isn't there like people losing bits of themselves over time, like
arms, heads, stuff goes flying.
Stuff goes flying.
Wow.
Versus an explosion that happens in the distance.
Please watch our Princess Mononoke episode.
No one else is.
No one else is.
Okay, long tangent about the fact that I recommended.
No, I think we have a new contender. Not very many people are watching our last Starfighter episode either. That might be our new Princess Mononoke.
Well, it's still young. Give it time.
It's still, it's just a late bloomer.
It's still a young acorn.
People loved that movie. I know they did.
People love Princess Mononoke too.
I believe.
I believe in us and our choices in movies. We're not weird out there. Anyway. Should we get into spoilers?
I think we definitely should.
Sure.
Much like the Dragon Ball Z episodes, we have done a whole bunch of filler, and now we're going to get to the 5 minutes of action.
Yeah, that is exactly the way a Dragon Ball Z movie works.
So yes, Jeff was talking about cheesy stuff. I forgot just how cheesy the Spirit Bomb is. It's like the ultimate kumbaya attack.
But, and BJ, I made an off statement. You're a person who's much more into Dragon Ball than I am.
Well, I was like 20 years ago, but go ahead.
Well, even then. So I made the off statement last time when you suggested this, that this is I said that this is the movie, the only time that the Spirit Bomb works. Is that actually true? Or am I missing one? Because all the other times I've ever seen Spirit Bomb, it's been a horrible flop. It's supposed to be this super ending move, and then it just never seems to work.
I'm pretty sure the Spirit Bomb is the ending move in Lord Slug, which is the 4th Dragon Ball movie. I want to say it's also the ending move in Tree of Might, because a high school friend of... I don't remember a lot about Tree of Might. I just know a friend we all had in high school would refer to the last move in Tree of Might as the Quick Draw Spirit Bomb. So, I can't recall if it ever worked in like the actual like TV series, but like I forget how like Frieza actually got defeated and whatnot. So
I don't.
Oh
no! In the show, Frieza never. Well, he gets hit by it, but it doesn't actually kill him for whatever reason. But it's like a 20. It's like a 10% Spirit Bomb. It's not like a full on, because they lose most of the power.
Yeah, because
so there's that caveat to it.
Yeah, because at the time, like most of... Okay, so background information, I guess. So the Spirit Bomb is a very powerful attack, which sort of in the English dub they say they borrowed energy from all living things on the planet and blah blah blah. And so like in the movies it's like this big kumbaya moment where Goku's like, please everyone lend me your power, and I guess during the Namek fight, I guess at that time, like, most of Nameks are dead. Yeah, Gary, you're right. Dragon Ball Z is violent because there's, like, straight up genocide.
Yeah. I mean, they bring them back to life, but,
yeah,
wish it, like I said, infinite wish.
Yes.
So, but still,
which, like, gets more... like the Dragon Ball rabbit hole, like the difference between the Earth Dragon Balls and Namek Dragon Balls, that's like a whole ball of wax. Don't need to.
Okay, what are you talking about with the Namek Dragon Balls? What did I just open yet another chapter?
That's the whole thing we don't even have to talk about. Okay, so digging up like 20-year-old memories here. Okay, so the Dragon Balls. Okay. The more I think about this, the deeper the rabbit hole goes. Okay, so remember how we were talking about the green guy named, what's his name again?
Piccolo.
Piccolo? Yeah. Okay, so Piccolo. So there's actually another green guy, which I don't think he shows up in the name of the movies, called, is it Kami?
Yes, Kami.
He's like the guardian of the earth, and Kami and Piccolo they started out as the same person, but then Kami like exorcised his evil self and split himself into two. So his good self was Kami and his evil self was Piccolo. So
Wow.
So like and it's Kami who created the Dragon Balls, I think. Yes, something like that. So
wait, he created them?
Yes.
They're not like some deep ancient thing from the beginning of time. They're
Well,
just
Kami is very old. Kami is the protector of the earth. He is like this spiritual guardian or something.
Okay.
So during the Saiyan saga, so when one of them dies, they both die. So Piccolo dies shielding Gohan, which also means that Kami dies. So when Kami dies, the Earth Dragon Balls are depowered. But it turns out that they're aliens. So they go to their home planet Namek, because since Namek's the people of Namek, the
Namekians?
Something like that, I don't know. So they go to Namek to get Dragon Balls.
Do the people on that planet all look green?
Yes.
With antennas? So they all look like Piccolo, kind of.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So they go to Namek to get Dragon Balls to undo all the damage from the big fight between the defenders of Earth and the Saiyans. And somehow because of the Dragon Balls on Earth, everyone else in the universe figured, hey, dude, there's like 3 wishes on Namek. Let's just everybody go to Namek. So during the Namek saga, there's this big fight on Namek, and since the Dragon Balls on Namek are more powerful than the okay. So
this is a lot to unload.
So Gary was kind of wrong before by saying that it's an unlimited wish with the Dragon Balls on Earth. The Dragon Balls on Earth are limited in that you can only wish for something once.
So once you wish for something that's used up?
Yeah, so like...
So you can't say, hey, bring this guy back to life again.
Yeah, yeah, that was kind of the big limiting factor, is that most of the named characters who get killed in the fight against the Saiyans have already died. So even if the Dragon Balls came back, they wouldn't be able to bring them back to life because they've already been wished back to life. But the Dragon Balls on Namek don't have this limitation. So
didn't know that, but cool.
So yes, that's
there's
why
opportunities to keep on fighting forever and ever and ever, and to bring back people and to fight again and again.
Yep. To be the giant plot MacGuffin which will literally let you bring the Earth back after it's been destroyed. I want to say they do that at least once.
This is great. What a great show.
Dragon Ball Z is not deep, but
yeah,
it's definitely got a charm to it.
Man, I wish I had this good a memory. Like for stuff that mattered, because I'm pulling out this information from parts of my brain I haven't accessed since like high school. And then there's like days like walking in the kitchen, I'm like, what did I go in the kitchen for? I knew 3 seconds ago, but here I am like, oh yes, this deep Dragon Ball lore I haven't thought about for 30 years. I spit off the top of my hat.
So
anyway,
this movie, a guy uses the Earth Dragon Ball. Let's get us back on topic, by the way.
Yeah.
Uses the Earth Dragon Balls to wish for his master to be free from his icy tomb, and then they want to get the world's strongest person. Roll credits, by the way. World's strongest
title drop.
Want to get the world's strongest person so that the master of the person who made the wish who is a brain in the jar,
Yes. Yeah.
can steal that person's body, and they can unite the world's strongest body with the world's greatest mind.
So just to kind of throw out a random thing here. So everyone looks at this brain and is like, is that a human brain? But like the skull size of the brain is like, it's like huge. It's like the size of a car. And people are like, is that a human brain? I'm like, no, it's like the size of you. Right?
There is the possibility that the person, because they refer to the fact that they've been trapped in the ice for 50 years. There's the possibility that during that period of time, and especially combined with the fact that he is now freed from his mortal body, that he is in fact actually, what would be the word? The things have happened. That maybe the brain has mutated.
Debodied.
Maybe he's been debodied, and maybe the brain has mutated and grown larger? Question mark?
You ate a lot of brain food.
Maybe.
I
guess it wouldn't look as intimidating if it was just this like small brain and this giant robot, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess you kind of look like Krang from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know.
So they want to get a brain in a job. They want to get the brain into a body. So that's the idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
He wants a powerful body that he can take over.
Yes.
And he searches out and finds the strongest man, who is the world's strongest man from 50 years ago, who's now an old geezer.
Yes. Master Roshi, who trains Goku in the original Dragon Ball. Goku and Krillin. Poor Krillin.
Yeah, poor Krillin.
The joke
Poor
for 30-something
Krillin.
years.
That is one thing that is easily stands out at the very end. It's like, poor Krillin.
Poor Krillin.
That guy.
Poor Krillin never gets to be
doesn't
cool.
work out for him.
Anyway.
That's true of like all the episodes, right? Except for like one rare occasion somewhere where he actually succeeds.
Well, like in the original Dragon Ball, Goku and they were both standing under Roshi, but they were like friendly rivals, I think. But like most of the good guys in Z were bad guys of various and assorted threat level in the original Dragon Ball, I think. I could be wrong.
Some of them, yeah, that is kind of...
Anyway, those guys don't have any... Anyway, those guys don't have... Outside of Piccolo, they're not in this movie, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. So, in this movie, there is...
I just realized there's like Krillin has one cool move, and he doesn't even get to do it in this movie. He doesn't get to do the Destructo disc.
Yeah, that thing is pretty...
That's like his one cool move.
Yeah.
It's
the
Destructo
one
disc?
Yes. Jeff, remember how I said there's some pretty gnarly deaths? Krillin has this thing where he because in this series and in this movie, people do a lot of things with energy blasts coming out of their hands, right? Well, Krillin has this thing where he directs his energy into a very, very thin disc, which he then throws at the enemy. Given that it is very, very thin, it's actually very, very sharp. So the damage it's doing is all concentrated on a very small edge, which cuts through just about anything. Remember how I said there's some pretty gnarly stuff that happens in this series? Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
They show the results of that. It's not pretty. And Krillin's the one who came up with it. So
I mean, like, even this movie, Goku, like, literally flies through somebody.
yes.
It is a robot, so it doesn't, like, count as gore, I guess. So
it's robot gore, which, you know, if you...
What did they call them? They called them, like, biotechs?
In the dub I had, it was biomechanical warriors.
Actually, that was really close to what I had in the original Japanese too, or at least the subtitle for the original Japanese. So,
So,
want to.
yeah.
Hey, sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, no, they're mechanical, but then they look biological on the outside, so they probably are to some extent biological. Like the Terminator, they have a flesh on the outside.
Kind of, I guess.
Kinda, yeah.
They don't really dive that deep into their. They are
No,
there for
that's-
Goku to punch,
Yeah.
and punch him he does.
I will give them credit because in this particular group, there was some very unique power sets. I usually bad guys just have the generic throw energy balls at you, but these guys all had like each of the three. There's three main bad guys that he has to fight before he gets to the main boss. And each of those three main bad guys had a unique power set that kind of like gave them a particular capability, and it was kind of interesting, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't make all the villains the same. They
No,
tried to
yeah.
make them a little bit different, which is great. Yeah.
We had the freezing guy, the quick guy with like the electro whip, and the marshmallow guy to go with how Goku in the dub I watched for that. It's like fighting a marshmallow.
And can I say one thing? It's really weird because I grew up listening to the dubbed version, and usually the dubbed version has it being a much more of an adult voice. It's practically a kid's voice. It's almost the same voice as Gohan's voice in the original Japanese. And it was kind of odd hearing this like kind of voice coming out of Goku.
Yeah, the dub I had, I think it was the newer dub. So like, and again, this is going off like 20-year-old memory. I want to say in like the early English dub, the Goku voice actor he sounded much younger. But then when they changed voice actor, he sounded a bit more mature.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I've seen clips of like the original Japanese voice. They may just kept like the same voice actor from like the Dragon Ball anime. Maybe.
I want to say it's the same.
I cannot say that for certain because I have not looked into that at all, but that seems possible.
So Goku and Gohan is the same voice actor. Nashako knows I cannot pronounce her name. Yeah, but it looks like they had the same person to do both of those voices in the Japanese one, whereas the one I watched, it's different enough.
Misako Nozawa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. BJ knows how to read. There we go.
Well, I say with confidence, I probably totally butchered it.
So,
but yeah, I don't know if she's the same one from like original Dragon Ball 2. Yes, she is. Okay, so that's why. It's because they carried the same voice actor from Dragon Ball where Goku's a kid to Dragon Ball Z where he's grown up. It's the same voice actress, I guess. Actress, yes.
But so it was kind of weird hearing this almost childlike voice coming out of Goku. But yeah, no, it's so he fights this interesting set of people who actually have powers that are, varied and whatnot. Usually I don't remember seeing this outside of. This is late in the Frieza saga, isn't it? When he hits, what is it? The Ginyu Force? BJ?
Ginyu Force, yeah.
The
guys who pose.
The guys who pose, which in my opinion is, fairly awesome.
There was a. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. It's kind of, it's just that these guys are, they're so beyond everybody else that they're almost like Goku in their own way, where where Goku walks into a fight and then he's like, I was just waiting for an opening and you just
yeah. That was actually what I was going to bring up. There's a part in this that reminded me of that because I think it was the first time he fights the pink guy. They just kind of stand there and have a standoff for a second, and then Goku just punches him in the face.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I saw that. I'm like, oh, that reminds me of when the bad guys are like trying to pose on Goku, and Goku just, oh, sorry, but I saw an opening that seemed to yell attack, so I did.
So we've got, so we got some bad guys, and he fights them, and then he has to fight a giant robot.
Actually, if I can backtrack for just 1 second.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, backtrack.
Because to bring up something totally weird, because in the version I watched, the version you guys watch have the weird musical number.
Oh, yes.
Yes. It was like a daydream of Gohan when he's thinking about what might have happened to Piccolo, and
Did yours have vocals?
Vocals?
Yeah.
Where the guy's singing?
Yeah, because like the one because I remember watching this at some point, and I remember there being singing during that part, but in the copy I have, it just had the animation. It didn't have like the kid singing. So I'm like, did I just hallucinate that? Did I just make up like the entire song and it's just this weird anime sequence? Okay, so I guess that's something they didn't do in the new dub. Okay, interesting.
Well, you say that. Goodness, I watched it 3 times. Once again, memory having its victory over me. Yeah, but it was definitely weird, though. It was like a strange daydream. And then his mom wakes him up and complains about how he's becoming lazier. So, like, one of the reasons why I did this one as compared to, like, Dead Zone, which is, like, the first Dragon Ball Z movie, is because in Dead Zone, like, Gohan gets drugged or drunk or something, and then he has a really wild dream sequence, which, like, ends in stuff. It's a dream sequence even worse than that one. Well, it's or at least even more bizarre. It's a drug-induced dream sequence, so yes.
Okay.
It's strange. They have these moments in the middle of the show where it just kind of gets wacky. I don't know.
Japanese humor is very different than Western humor sometimes.
Definitely.
It leans much more into the what's the word? The wacky, there's a word I can't think of, but anyway, yes.
We'll just do wacky and probably square it.
Okay, so.
To the
sorry. Apologize for derailing the conversation. Just wanted to see if the music made it into any other versions. Anyway, carry on. We were talking about the brain robot. I think.
The brain robot.
Well, okay, so
Robo-brain.
I remember something happening during this fight sequence, and none of you seem to pick up on it, though. I'm just wondering, is this something that only made it in mine? Because at one point, I remember this robot. So, robot was set into the wall. You didn't even realize it was a robot at the time. But then it comes out of the wall and starts fighting all of the main protagonists. They're all getting ready to fight. And they all fight it, and it seems to be able to shoot energy beams out of just about everything, including, and I remember this, it leaned forward and shot something out of its tail end at somebody. Do you guys not remember that?
Nope.
Laser tush.
Yeah, laser tushy.
I may have looked away during this particular part. I generally only remember it shooting beams out of its claws. I don't remember.
I mean, maybe the claw is behind it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember, as you phrased it prior to the podcast, laser butt or butt laser.
But still, it shoots beams out of everything. And doesn't he make a comment at some point where he was like, I would have used this body, but it's just ugly?
In the dub, he just says something about I can finally get out of this ugly robot body or something like that.
Yeah, so it's only he only wants to occupy a body again for aesthetic reasons. It's not that he, is looking for a strong body. It's just Because he's
Well, I
already
mean,
built himself a strong body. He wants a strong human body.
well, I mean,
Or
he is
something
looking
like
for the strongest human body.
So
It's easier than going to the gym, right? Just
well,
steal
I mean,
a body.
well, to be fair, I think this is like less than an hour long, and it's not the kind of Dragon Ball is not the kind of series where they let people ponder on their motivations.
yeah, no, they
The
want
good guys are
more-
good and the bad guys are bad.
Weirdly enough, it's got a lot of filler in it in the series, or in the series and in the movies as well, but they don't do a lot of like self introspection on the bad guys' part. There's no character building on the bad guys' part. It's just, a lot of weird filler, some few small gags on the good guys, and then punchy, beam shooty. Punchy, beam shooty.
So what's the relationship between Goku and his wife?
They're married?
They're married.
They're happily married.
They're happily married.
Very well. At one point, BJ's, correct me if I'm wrong, at one point she requests specifically that they get a car, and to do that he has to go get a driver's license, which is absolutely hilarious. I love this. I sure hope
there is an episode where I think Goku and I think Piccolo take a driver's test.
Yeah, they have to get
I
driver's
don't
license.
know if I don't know if I've ever seen this particular episode, but I know that it exists.
I have seen it once, and it is hilarious because I know at least once they tell Goku to do a hard right, and then he spins the wheel off accidentally, and then he has to use like a energy blast to correct he has to start using energy blasts to correct the direction of the car or something like that. It's ridiculous.
I do know, and I came across this clip while I was looking up Dragon Ball stuff. Once we knew we were going to do Dragon Ball in one of the later Dragon Ball, I think it's Dragon Ball Super. So by the time Dragon Ball Super rolls around, like we're talking like actual gods and like beings from like the multiverse and all that, they have a baseball game.
Huh.
So all of these super fighters get together and have a baseball game?
Yes, and it's supposed to be the people from Earth versus everyone else, but of course Vegeta is on team everyone else just because he has to beat Goku. And like the very first pitch, he goes full power, and it leaves like this big crater. And so like people in charge are like, okay, no full power stuff because otherwise we're gonna blow up the planet. So stop it.
I imagine that gets beaten.
Okay.
That they break that rule for the final blow or something along those lines. But anyways.
Well, Gary, I think you might appreciate this if you can remember that far back. So the gag of it is that the game ends in a score of 1-0 because the last at bat is Goku hitting and Vegeta's the pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
And while they are so focused on each other, and like it's basically like a big beam battle except with a baseball and a baseball bat. So while that's going on, Yamcha steals all the bases, including home. Yamcha's
the one with the scars on his face, right?
Yeah. Yamcha is most famous for the Yamcha pose. So like, if you see any Dragon Ball media of like a guy like face down in the dirt with like his arms and legs sticking out, that's Yamcha. Yamcha is basically not Piccolo. Yamcha is basically Krillin, but less cool.
Yeah.
Wrap your brain around that.
That is kind of strange to imagine. Okay.
So
anyway.
So Goku, he's this powerful fighter who
Yes.
protects the Earth, and he fights all of these space creatures from different places that come to fight him.
Yeah.
Yet the one person that he seems to be the most afraid of is his wife when he comes home. And like she just like I think a lot of the humor is just
Oh, I think Chi-Chi's a character from Dragon Ball. Again, I don't know Dragon Ball, so I can't say that with 100% certainty.
She was in the original series. Her father was this giant, brutish type king, I think.
Yeah, her dad's King Ox, which he does show up in Z, not this particular movie, but he's the big, broad guy with like a, he has like a water buffalo hat or something. It's like the...
But I believe the first time we see Chi-Chi, she's shooting energy beams out of her forehead, and she's got this like super boomerang thing. She's got like this weird helmet that she can shoot energy beams out of, and also has a super boomerang thing attached to it, which, she can detach it from the helmet and throw it at people.
I will take your word for it. I have no idea.
Yeah, she's very impressive. And also she's one of the few people that can ride Nimbus. Nimbus being this weird flying cloud that Goku uses to fly around a lot in.
Yeah.
She's one of the few people that can fly on Nimbus other than Goku. Supposedly something to do with being pure of heart.
Yeah, Flying Nimbus made a lot more sense before everyone could fly.
Yeah.
Okay, but I have to admit, when the Nimbus, I guess you call it the Cloud Nimbus? Or
Nimbus.
This little flying
Nimbus? When it showed up, like Goku's like, I gotta go and take care of them. And then he summons Flying Nimbus, and it's this tiny little cloud with this string, this trail behind it, and it comes down, and he just hops on it, and it's like, all right, I'm off for another adventure.
Flying Nimbus has to be I want to say there has to be something from the original Journey to the West, right?
It is.
Okay.
And it even kind of makes sense even in the later series, because it's energy that... So when people start flying, they have to use their own energy to do that. Even if it's a minuscule amount of energy, they still have to use it. Versus using Nimbus, Nimbus is energy that you don't have to use. It's just this entity that exists that will get you from point A to point B at the same speed as if you were using your own energy to fly. But you don't have to use that energy.
Okay.
You can just kind of relax and enjoy the ride and look cool while you're doing it. But
I guess your mileage may vary on the cool part, I guess. I don't know.
I don't
Jeff
know.
apparently wasn't very impressed.
I just thought it was so funny. There was something about it that just made me laugh.
It kind of looks
Out
like
of all the ways to travel, it's on a tiny cloud, almost like it's your skateboard for the sky.
I was going to say a little puffy surfboard or something like that. But anyways, so
This show, there's so many things about it that are just charming.
it's just weird. A lot of weird stuff. Definitely, its anime is an acquired taste for a lot of people. It's got this kind of weird, odd way to it. The writing in it is either hit or miss, as evidenced by all of our reactions to various assorted things. Like, what the heck is going on with this weird dream sequence versus this amazing action, brawl? Versus, yet again, also all of the weird filler stuff that goes on. People just isn't it like some episodes where they spend the entire episode just powering up, and all powering up is just them like screaming and energy waves getting more and more, farther away from them or something like that?
I mean, there's usually like other stuff going on too, but like the major plot point goes, oh, he's powering up for this big attack.
Yeah.
Find out next time if Goku unleashes his ultimate attack or whatever. Right?
And
then next time turns into that episode.
Next time, and then
this time we're going off
What
to this
kind of
other
a show?
character. We'll find out about
Frieza
Goku
unleashed
next
his attack.
time.
It's going to destroy the planet in 5 minutes. And somehow this 5-minute attack takes 15 episodes to actually explode.
Yes.
What kind of a
Find
show
out
could
what
get
actually
away
dies
from
next
that?
time on Dragon Ball Z.
So to kind of, I mean, and it's Western versus Japanese. In Western, there's this really cool thing. So, for instance, what I mean by Western is like Hollywood movies. There's this really cool sequence in Aliens, the second movie. And I know we did this at one point. We actually timed it. When it says 15 minutes to explosion, it's actually 15 minutes. It feels like 10 hours, but it's 15 minutes, right? Versus, 5 minutes taking 10 episodes to take place. It's just, but it's strange.
Well, when you're coming home from school and you're gonna watch Dragon Ball before you do your homework, you care less that not anything's happening for those 10 episodes because you're gonna go to school the next day and geek out with your friends about it anyway.
And contemplate what will happen to X character in the next episode or whatever, or what happened to them in this one.
From I remember about our Dragon Ball conversation in high school, I don't think I would use I don't think there was a lot of contemplating.
We just said, ooh, this cool thing
Well,
happened.
mayhap your high school Dragon Ball Z conversations were much deeper than mine.
I don't know. I don't think Deep and Dragon Ball Z really go together. There's not a lot of contemplation with this. You're right. It's a lot of just like screaming and shooting beams of energy out of people's hands and other portions.
Just leave it at hands, Gary. Just leave it at hands.
Hey,
Let's just say hands.
Piccolo,
We're just saying hands.
Piccolo shoots
Yes.
beam out of his mouth multiple times in this movie.
Yes, but no. Anyway, yes. I will say that something in this movie that made me laugh is when Goku finally gets the spirit bomb off and it like goes up and it like flies past Krillin and it flies past Gohan and they're like having this deep moment and they're having this moment where they see nature and they like see all the people who gave part of their energy, the power of the spirit bomb, and then it shows Piccolo's like, oh crap, this thing is about to hit me, and he flies out of the way. It's like for Krillin and Gohan, it's like this deep spiritual experience, and for poor Piccolo, it's like, oh crap, I have to dodge this. Anyway, I thought it was funny. I don't know if you guys did, apparently not. Anyway.
I didn't really catch that at the time, but then again, it's dealing with small and screechy, so.
Yes. So, anywho, we have.
I thought it was funny at the very end. Within the comedic timing, there are so many things that are funny. But at the very, very end, the very last scene, they're all standing around, and the older guy, I forget his name, he's like
Master Roshi.
Master Roshi, the teacher. He goes, you know what? I liked the guy. He said I was the most powerful. And then someone else is like, you're just a dirty old man. And then they all laugh for this like excessively long period of time. And that's the joke. The joke is they're laughing at him.
It is.
But then it kind of goes on for a little while where they keep on laughing and laughing.
It is very much the last joke of the episode of a sitcom where the laugh track goes on forever.
Yeah.
It's like, laugh at our last joke. Ha ha. Ha ha.
You're just a dirty old man.
Ha ha. Got him.
Well,
Anywho.
So
I'm sorry, Gary, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, so in the repertoire of moves that are available in this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
He uses just to pin down a few things, because we talked a little bit about its location in the series or lack thereof, but he has the Kaioken, which I believe he gets from Yes?
He gets the Kaioken at the same during the same time he gets the Spirit Bomb. He gets it from King Kai.
King Kai, yeah. It's weird, and yet another weird alien.
Weird alien / god question mark / powerful spiritual being.
Yeah.
What do you mean by get it? He gets it as in he's taught it?
He's taught it.
Yeah.
And then Kaioken,
Okay.
he learns Kaioken, or he uses Kaioken in this, and then he also uses Kamehameha.
Yes.
Which
are all fun things that he yells and screams when it comes time for it.
Well,
Kaioken!
I am.
Each of them has a different purpose, Jeff. Kaioken is augmentation of one's own capability, versus Kamehameha is you're focusing spirit energy into a beam of destructive power. So Kaioken has its drawbacks. It uses up a lot of energy really quickly, so you're pretty beat after you use it.
I'm sure there's the answer to this somewhere on the internet, but I dearly want to know why a Japanese writer decided to name one of his trademark attacks after a Hawaiian king.
That's maybe, I don't know.
Right?
I don't know. It is the same name, though. You are right, BJ.
It is, and to be fair, it is quite fun to yell Kamehameha. I'm not going to do the whole thing.
And it's really easy to do it really quickly, or you can really stretch it out. Speaking of filler, by the way, you can really, really stretch it out if you want to. And it sounds very dramatic.
Most time when they stretch out. Oh, okay, yeah. I was going to say most time when they stretch it out, it's for a very dramatic scene.
Yeah. But a lot of screaming, and then I don't know. Does anybody else from the various sort of bad guy groups scream anything when they anything specific other than just screaming when they start to shoot energy weapons, or is it just
Vegeta has an attack he names. It's like Gallic Gun or something like that.
Hmm.
And then later on, when he turns into a good guy, he also throws in, was it Final Flash? Yeah. I don't know how they got these names in the English dub, if they're like literal translations, or if they're like just trying to find names that like match the lip flaps. Because there's some weird names
There's another...
don't sound very cool in English, but somehow they make it cool when they yell it. Like Special Beam Cannon.
Yeah, there's another anime, I think I forced you to watch it at one point, called Slayers, and they have some really cool spells in that one. That, including the main characters, I think it's called Dragon Wave or something like that. And
it wasn't like Dragon Slave?
Dragon Slave, you're right, Dragon Slave. And it's got an entire like sequence build up to it, and it's a pocket tactical nuke, but in spell form. Yay!
Jeff, how you doing? I can sense your brain cells like.
Oh, I'm hanging on every word. I'm taking notes. Don't worry.
Dragon Slave. Anyway, Gary, go ahead.
No, it's but if you wanted cool names, like they had it in that particular one, but then again they have an entire because it's a fantasy series, they had entire like sequences where they're chanting the spell, and they could say all kinds of cool stuff during it. Whereas in Dragon Ball all they had was like one particular thing to so it's like, okay, Kamehameha, what's this guy saying? I guess we could say it's energy gun, or...
Well, I mean, to kind of defend that, like, on the plus side, there's not like a canned animation for these attacks in Dragon Ball, where like in a lot of other Japanese stuff, where there's like a final ultimate attack, it's a canned animation that happens every single episode. I can't remember if Slayers did that or not. Or
Slayers did it a lot, you're right, where they had this particular thing. you're right that they had like a canned that they would only change what happened to the target because the target would be different every time. But yeah, you're right on that one where it's like, okay, this is like, let's bring out animation number 3 for her destroying another city or part thereof.
Okay, well, could I just say I think it's kind of funny as well. The villain, Dr. Weaver. I think if
Doctor, I have the names right here. Dr. Willow. Apparently, so I'm
changed a few times when I was watching it for some odd reason.
So I'm looking at it on Wikipedia. Apparently, the original Japanese was Dr. Willow, like the tree, and then in the American translation got changed to Wheel O, so like Will and an O at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so the whole time he was so confident right up to the end that he would possess Goku's body and get his strength. Like even when he's beat up and he's thrashed and they're now fighting in space, the battle has transitioned from a place on Earth in this strange laboratory facility that the bad guy has up into space. Now they're in orbit fighting. And even after all that, he's still completely confident that he, of course, is somehow going to win.
Well, at the end, he goes past, I'm going to possess Goku, to just, screw you, everybody dies.
It takes him a while. It takes a while to finally get there, I feel like. Like, after the battle just keeps on not going his way, and all of his plans don't work out.
Well, like, once he steps in,
but...
yeah, I was going to say, once he steps in, he does kick a lot of the can up until Goku goes protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry to cut up your train of thought there. I'm doing that a lot today. I'm just going to sit down and be quiet for a bit. You guys can talk.
Actually, there's not much left to talk about at this point. It wasn't an exceptionally long movie, and there's not a huge amount of depth to it.
I do have some questions, though. The blue-haired girl and the pig guy.
These are relic characters from previous in Dragon Ball the movie, or not in the TV series. Sorry, in Dragon Ball the original TV series, both of these were main characters, right? The pig is actually and actually he is from. He's a relic from the original lore that this gets pulled from, the original Journey to the West, and he Oolong is he's a shapeshifter, so when he's not being a pig, he can actually be several different shapes if he so chooses to be. And then the girl, she is a technical genius. Her father's even more of a genius, and she herself is a technical genius. You know, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. There's a little pocket watch looking thing in the opening sequence that finds all the Dragon Balls, and that's her invention. She invented it to help her find where the Dragon Balls are, and she can but she comes from she helps her father, and they've got this thing, it's called Capsule Corporation, where everything is in a capsule the size of like basically a fairly large pill. Like think something along the size of a horse pill. You take this little horse pill out and you throw it on the ground, and then out pops whatever was in the capsule, right? It could be like a car, it could be a house, it could be whatever they had built inside of this little capsule, right? So it's kind of no, these people are geniuses.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's kind of who she is.
So the pig guy seems kind of a interesting character. He's very conniving. He schemes a little bit. I mean, he's not necessarily an evil character, but he's definitely kind of he's a little bit greedy, right?
Yeah, he was a quasi villain during the original Dragon Ball series. He was like on again, off again villain. Only a little bit, right? Like he originally tried to be villainous, and then he's doesn't have a lot of bravery to him, even though he can change into whatever shape, and he could become a giant monster if he wanted to, admittedly for a very short period of time.
So that's his standard form.
But yeah, the pig is the standard
pig.
form. Yep, the little short pig guy. And whatever he changes into has a little pigtail, which was one of the original weaknesses that they were able to spot him whenever he was doing stuff. He's kind of he's kind of
okay.
He kind of has the hots for the blue-haired girl. Her name is Bulma. He's kind of got the hots for her, and multiple times he's transformed himself into like, hunky guys to try to confuse her so that he could get a kiss or something like that. But then she usually inevitably spots his tail, and it's like, no, it's just you trying to schmooze me or whatever.
Yeah, the nature of their relationship was a little confusing, but basically, yeah, they're kind of friends, but she's like many of the women in the show, they're very aggressive and very forceful. So she gets angry at him for him breaking her machine, and he has to cook them dinner, which he messes up. The whole thing is funny.
Yeah, Dragon Ball doesn't have, like, it has these women who overpower the men, but only in sort of like an emotional way, until much later in the series when there's this thing, what's her name? Android 18, BJ?
One of the androids.
Yeah.
Exactly which number.
BJ's woken up from his nap, his
Android
mini nap.
18, who's able to fight with the rest of them on their own level. Even though she's a robot, she's somehow able to have children as well because
Just don't think about
because
don't think about it. Because don't think about it. I'll accept that, BJ.
Well,
I'll accept it.
Actually, now I'm thinking about them. So here we go. Does she get destroyed and brought back to life?
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't watch the Cell Saga, so I don't know.
Okay, because I
think I just know that she
absorbs it. Anyway,
I just know who
that's beyond the
ends up
purview of
with.
this podcast. Yeah,
I just know who she ends up with. That being Krillin, actually.
Yes.
One of the few times he wins in the series. He ends up with a hot girlfriend who's way more powerful than he is.
good for Krillin.
And she is a kind of an aside note, she's kind of a really funny character because there's this what's his name? He's supposedly, according to the world, he's the strongest fighter alive, and it's definitely not Goku. He's this other guy.
It depends if you go with the original or the dub. In the American version, it was Hercule. In the original, it was Mr. Satan.
So they have the world's strongest tournament at one point in one. I think it's the Majin Buu.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I don't know. I can't remember.
But she
might be Majin Buu, might be Cell. Well, no, yeah.
It's
I guess if it's
Cell
Android
because-
18, it has to be Majin Buu. Yeah.
So she ends up being her and this guy because of a lot of chicanery and a little bit of everybody else leaving to go fight the real bad guy, right? They don't care about a fighting tournament. They care about fighting the real bad guys. So it's just her versus this Hercule guy. And she gets up to him and she says, "I'll throw the fight." And then he's like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, I'll throw the fight. You just have to make it look good, and then B, pay me a lot of money." And then he's like, "Okay." And
Yeah, so Hercule knows that these guys all totally outclass him, but he has to pretend like they don't because he's world famous.
Yeah.
So that's sort of a long-running gag there.
But yeah, no, it's there's that's kind of where we're at with her, and she's kind of her mentality. Anyways, but yeah, no, it's an interesting series and definitely an interesting movie. So
yeah, it definitely seems like if you want to get into it, you might want to look into Dragon Ball Kai because it's a lot shorter. Speaking,
yeah, definitely.
Well, thinking of things that aren't shorter, this podcast is now a half hour longer than the actual movie was.
So should we wrap things up?
It was.
Well, I'm afraid we have to follow the long-standing podcast tradition and ask for final thoughts.
It's an okay movie. Want to watch it? Watch it. Jeff?
Yeah. I just want a flying Nimbus to get around.
There's just like,
that would be cool.
Over. BJ and Gary talking about weird things I don't understand again.
This conversation has gone over the weird threshold. It's too weird. It's too weird.
What's going on? Anyway. Okay.
No, I actually do like Dragon Ball Z. I know I've mentioned I don't watch a lot of it, but every time I do finally devote some time to it, I'm never disappointed with it. I think that part of it is it's just so much. There's so much in it. I mean, watching 13 episodes, but at the same time, these characters, they're all funny, and they're interesting. The fight scenes, they definitely know how to build up and show you something.
They definitely know how to build up. Holy cow!
Yeah. So it's great. The whole thing's good. I should probably watch more, but I don't have much time for things. But this is definitely good.
And again, if you just want to dip your toe into things, all the movies are standalone. So
so the movies are probably easier than watching through the many episodes.
Yeah, like I think Z by itself has over 100 episodes. So maybe if you're curious, start with the movies, and you can go from there.
Yeah.
Anywho.
So
is that it? You done?
Mm-hmm. I'm done.
I'm done.
No more interruptions.
I'm done in more ways than one. Anyway. Okay, so thank you for listening to our podcast. I don't know if anyone made it this far because this went on way longer than I thought it would. So I'm BJ. With me was Jeff and Gary, and we will see you next time.
Kamehameha?
I mean, if you're going to do that, you have to do it right. But I'm going to stop recording before we do it right.